Subscribe for weekly certification practice videos, exam prep guides, and new releases. Visit cloudcertificationstore.com for weekly releases and complete practice ebooks. This is episode 10 of the Get It Done Certified AWS Certified AI Practitioner, AIF-C01, practice playlist. We will pick up with questions 91 through 100, then review the correct answers and explanations. Question 91. A company is training an FM and wants to raise accuracy to a specific acceptance level. Which change helps? Option A, decrease the batch size. Option B, increase the epochs. Option C, decrease the epochs. Option D, increase the temperature. The correct answer is B, increase the epochs. Explanation. More epochs allow additional passes over data, improving fit when undertrained. It can close the gap to an accuracy target if the model hasn't converged. Must be balanced with validation checks to avoid overfitting. Early stopping/regularization should accompany the change. Why not option A? Decreased batch size may affect generalization noise, but it's an indirect lever and can slow training. It doesn't systematically raise accuracy to a target by itself. Effects are dataset/model dependent and less predictable. Why not option C? Decrease epochs reduces learning opportunity and likely lowers accuracy if underfit. Opposite direction for reaching a higher threshold. Risk of stopping before convergence. Why not option D? Increase temperature inference time randomness, not a training signal. It won't improve training accuracy and can degrade output determinism, irrelevant to model learning. Question 92. A company is building an LLM queue and a chatbot and wants fewer agent actions per call. Which KPI best reflects this? Option A, website engagement rate. Option B, average call duration. Option C, corporate social responsibility. Option D, regulatory compliance. The correct answer is B, average call duration. Explanation. Fewer steps typically translate to shorter calls if issues resolve faster. It's quantifiable across agents and time, enabling a /B of assistive features. Correlates with cost per interaction and agent productivity. A practical, operations-level outcome metric. Why not option A? Engagement rate web metric unrelated to call center efficiency. It doesn't measure agent actions or resolution speed. Not a proxy for conversation length. Why not option C? CSR broad corporate initiative, not an operational KPI. No causal tie to agent action counts, irrelevant to call handling. Why not option D? Regulatory compliance necessary baseline but not indicative of call efficiency. It doesn't vary with agent action reduction, not the intent of the question. Question 93. Which functionality does Amazon SageMaker Clarify provide? Option A, integrates a RAG workflow. Option B, monitors model quality in production. Option C, documents critical details about ML models. Option D, identifies potential bias during data preparation. The correct answer is D, identifies potential bias during data preparation. Explanation. Clarify analyzes datasets to surface pre-training bias, e.g., class imbalance, demographic skews. It also provides post-training explainability and bias metrics. Reports support responsible AI reviews and corrective action. It directly addresses fairness/interpretability questions. Why not option A? RAG retrieval augmented generation is an application pattern, not a Clarify feature. Clarify doesn't index or retrieve documents. Wrong product area. Why not option B? Model quality monitoring. That SageMaker model monitors role, drift/quality in prod. Clarify isn't the continuous monitoring plane. Complementary but distinct. Why not option C? Model documentation. Model cards provide structured documentation, not Clarify. Clarify's outputs can feed cards, but it's not the documentation system. Question 94. A new price prediction model performs well on training data but poorly in production. What should the company do? Option A. Reduce the volume of training data. Option B. Add hyperparameters to the model. Option C. Increase the volume of training data. Option D. Increase the model training time. The correct answer is C. Increase the volume of training data. Explanation. More diverse data improves generalization and reduces overfitting to idiosyncrasies. It exposes the model to edge cases and seasonality present in production. Paired with validation and regularization, accuracy typically rises. Data quality matters as much as quantity. Why not option A? Reduce data moves in the wrong direction, amplifying overfitting risk. You'll see higher variance and poorer real-world performance. Contradicts standard generalization practice. Why not option B? Add hyperparameters. More knobs don't guarantee better generalization. They can increase variance. Without more data, you risk overtuning. It treats symptoms, not the cause. Why not option D? More training time can deepen overfitting on the same dataset. If underfit, time helps. Here the issue is generalization. Without new data/regularization, it likely harms production accuracy. Question 95. An e-commerce company wants to determine customer sentiment from written reviews. Which AWS services meet these requirements? Option A. Amazon Lex. Option B. Amazon Comprehend. Option C. Amazon Poly. Option D. Amazon Bedrock. Option E. Amazon Recognition. The correct answers are B and D. Option B. Amazon Comprehend. Option D. Amazon Bedrock. Explanation. Comprehend offers pre-built sentiment analysis for rapid deployment with no labeling. Bedrock can prompt FMs to classify sentiment using custom rubrics or multi-label schemes. Combining both allows a fast baseline and domain-tuned variance. This covers both turnkey and flexible options. Why not option A? Lex Conversational Interface. It doesn't analyze sentiment in bulk texts. You can integrate Comprehend behind Lex, but Lex alone isn't the analyzer. Why not option C? Poly text-to-speech. Converts text to audio, not sentiment inference. No classification capability. Why not option E? Recognition Vision Service. It processes images/videos, not textual sentiment. Wrong modality for the task. If you're finding these questions and explanations helpful, subscribe for new certification practice videos and guides every week. Visit cloudcertificationstore.com for weekly releases and complete practice ebooks. Question 96. A company is building a Bedrock chat over PDF manuals and needs the most cost-effective solution. What should it do? Option A. Add one PDF as context to the prompt. Option B. Add all PDFs as context to the prompt. Option C. Fine-tune a model on all PDFs. Option D. Upload PDFs to a Bedrock knowledge base and use it for retrieval. The correct answer is D. Upload PDFs to a Bedrock knowledge base and use it for retrieval. Explanation. Retrieval sends only relevant passages into the prompt, cutting token costs and latency. It avoids expensive/slow fine-tuning cycles and keeps knowledge external. Updates require re-ingestion, not model changes. This is the standard, cost-efficient pattern for doc Q&A. Why not option A? Fine-tune embeds static knowledge into weights, costly to update and unnecessary for retrieval. Overkill for document-grounded Q&A. Why not option B? All PDF bloats prompts beyond context limits and spikes token costs. Increases latency and truncation risk. Opposite of targeted retrieval. Why not option C? Fine-tune embeds static knowledge into weights, costly to update and unnecessary for retrieval. Overkill for document-grounded Q&A. Question 97. A social media company uses an LLM for moderation and wants to evaluate outputs for bias against specific groups with minimal admin effort. Which data source should they use? Option A, user-generated content. Option B, moderation logs. Option C, content moderation guidelines. Option D, benchmark datasets. The correct answer is B, moderation logs. Explanation. Existing logs contain real, labeled moderation events reflecting operational reality. They require no new dataset curation and are immediately analyzable for disparate impact. You can segment by group and outcome to quantify bias. This minimizes overhead while maximizing relevance. Why not option A? User-generated content raw content lacks labels or outcomes, requiring extensive annotation. High administrative load and slower insights, not the least effort route. Why not option C? Guidelines policy text helps define rules, not measure model outcomes. It contains no empirical outputs to assess disparity. Useful context, not evaluation data. Why not option D? Benchmark datasets helpful for comparability but may not match your platform's content/profile. Adoption requires mapping and may still miss your edge cases. More overhead than using in-house logs. Question 98. A company wants to use a pre-trained generative AI model to generate content for its marketing campaigns. The company needs to ensure that the generated content aligns with the company's brand voice and messaging requirements. Which solution meets these requirements? Option A. Optimize the model's architecture and hyperparameters to improve the model's overall performance. Option B. Increase the model's complexity by adding more layers to the model's architecture. Option C. Create effective prompts that provide clear instructions and context to guide the model's generation. Option D. Select a large, diverse dataset to pre-train a new generative model. The correct answer is C. Create effective prompts that provide clear instructions and context to guide the model's generation. Explanation. Prompt engineering is the most direct, cost-effective way to steer a pre-trained model toward a specific tone, style, and brand vocabulary. By specifying voice guidelines, acceptable phrases, target audience, and examples of on-brand copy, you constrain the model's space of outputs without altering its weights. You can further tighten consistency with structured templates, do/don't lists, and few-shot examples that demonstrate the desired style. This approach is fast to iterate, inexpensive, and keeps governance simple compared to retraining. Why not option A? Optimize the model's architecture and hyperparameters. Tuning internals may improve perplexity or general fluency, but it does not inherently enforce a specific brand voice. It adds engineering complexity and compute cost while still requiring prompt controls or fine-tuning for stylistic alignment. Why not option B? Increase the model's complexity by adding more layers to the model's architecture. Making the model larger rarely translates to better adherence to brand tone. It primarily affects capacity and generalization. You would still need explicit instructions or curated data to achieve consistent messaging. So this path adds cost without solving the core problem. Why not option D? Select a large, diverse dataset to pre-train a new generative model. Full pre-training is extremely expensive and time-consuming, and still may not capture your unique brand voice without careful curation. For brand alignment, prompt engineering, or at most lightweight fine-tuning on branded examples, is far more pragmatic and controllable. Question 99. A loan company is building a generative AI solution for discounts and wants to minimize bias that could harm customers. Which action should it take? Option A. Detect imbalances or disparities in the data. Option B. Ensure that the model runs frequently. Option C. Evaluate the model's behavior to provide transparency to stakeholders. Option D. Use Rouge to guarantee 100% accuracy. Option E. Ensure inference time is within limits. The correct answers are A and C. Option A. Detect imbalances or disparities in the data. Option C. Evaluate the model's behavior to provide transparency to stakeholders. Explanation. Proactively checking dataset balance prevents biased learning and disparate impact. Behavioral evaluation, audits, stress tests, reveals unfair outcomes before deployment. Transparent reporting builds trust and guides corrective action. Together they address both inputs and outputs of the system. Why not option B? Run frequently. Execution cadence doesn't reduce bias, it can amplify it faster. Frequency is an ops concern, not a fairness control. No causal link to equitable outcomes. Why not option D? Rouge for 100% accuracy. Rouge measures text overlap. It doesn't assess fairness or guarantee perfection. 100% accuracy is unrealistic and orthogonal to bias mitigation. Wrong metric for the goal. Why not option E? Inference time limits latency. SLOs concern UX and cost, not fairness. Meeting time budgets doesn't change bias properties. Useful KPI but irrelevant to harm minimization. Question 100. A company is using a pre-trained large language model, LLM, to build a chatbot for product recommendations. The company needs the LLM outputs to be short and written in a specific language. Which solution will align the LLM response quality with the company's expectations? Option A. Adjust the prompt. Option B. Choose an LLM of a different size. Option C. Increase the temperature. Option D. Increase the top K value. The correct answer is A. Adjust the prompt. Explanation. Explicit instructions, e.g., answer in Spanish in 2 sentences, bullet points only. Reliably steer length and language. Adding clear constraints and examples is the lowest cost, immediate fix, no retraining or architecture changes. You can also specify format, JSON, bullets, and tone for consistency. Prompt iteration is the standard first lever before any model changes. Why not option B? Choose an LLM of a different size. Model size affects capacity and latency, not inherently brevity or language choice. A bigger or smaller model can still produce long answers unless guided. Swapping models increases effort and risk without guaranteeing the required style. It's unnecessary when prompt control suffices. Why not option C? Increase the temperature. Higher temperature increases randomness/creativity, which often makes outputs longer and less controlled. It does not enforce a target language or strict length. If anything, you'd lower temperature for tighter adherence after fixing the prompt. This knob isn't a substitute for clear instructions. Why not option D? Increase the top K value. Raising top K broadens the candidate token pool, typically boosting variety, not concision. It won't make the model switch languages or obey strict length constraints. Decoding settings are fine-tuning dials, but they can't replace explicit prompt requirements. Use them only after the prompt is correct. Thanks for practicing with Get It Done Certified. Follow the channel for more certification practice content and share this episode with someone else preparing for the exam. Your next episode is waiting in the playlist.